Howdy, partner. Do you want to learn how to install artificial turf in your plant beds? Well, stay tuned because we're going to walk you through step by step everything you need to know to have a job that turns out awesome like our job here. Check it out. The product that we're using today is this SYNLawn turf that we got sent from our friends at Lowe's. And this is the SYNPaws version. If you look at this, what they've really done to make this look realistic is it's got different lengths of fibers and then different colors. So you got some of the brown thatch as well as the green grass in 2 different tones. It looks like maybe 3. And then on the back, it's really tough and it's got these drain holes, so it drain wells. So this one is called SYNPaws because it's safe for pet waste. It'll go ahead and clean off real easy. It won't hold smell, and it's about 1 inch in length on this one. So this is what we're gonna be working with. Let's jump into how to install it and give you tips and tricks so you too can have a professional end result. So we're going to show you how to do this smaller plant bed here. We've already done some larger ones here. We're working on one here. We've done 2 over here. But this one is what we're going to start on. And basically what you want to do is first is clear the area really well. Pull out any old plant life or anything else, and then kind of rake it smooth and get it ready. So what we'll do is we'll get this ready to go. They'll put on a weed barrier, and then we'll start doing the actual laying of the artificial turf. Okay, so we have here, this is 3-foot weed fabric. We'll link all these products in the description, but you can generously overlap all your edges with this, and you're gonna roll this out against your soil that you have prepped. So this will keep the weeds from growing through, and it'll keep it looking good for years to come. Cut. So once you get your pieces of the weed fabric on, you can overlap them generously and even over the sides, and it's gonna be folded in at the end. So no need to really worry about how it's cut. Make sure it's covering the whole thing though. And then we're gonna get some paver base. Now, it's gonna take several bags, but you wanna do a layer of, it's up to you, maybe 2 to 4 inches of paver base. It depends on how flat you really want the area to be. You can go with some natural rolls like we try to do in certain places to make it look really natural, or you can keep it really flat. But this is gonna help with drainage, and it's gonna help to keep it as a nice solid surface. So, we're gonna empty a few bags of this straight on top of this landscape fabric, and then we're going to use a manual tamper to go ahead and hammer it down and get nice and flat and prepped to install that turf. Okay, well, it is all prepped and tampered. It is pretty scorching hot outside right now, so that works up a good sweat. Now, you could lay the turf directly on this and then trim along the edges with a razor blade or some really, really sharp scissors, but it's pretty tough and not a very forgiving material. So what I like to do on something like this, where it's a really irregular shape and there's no straight edge on it because these are all kind of circular, is to make a template. The way to do that is to grab a plastic sheet or a drop cloth or something. The thicker the better. So this is about 3.5 mil. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay this over this entire bed here, tape it down, make sure it's nice and fit, and then we're going to trace it with a marker to make a template. Very important, if you come on over here, is when you get started on this, you want to take your marker and write top on the top. Because when we go and use this as a stencil, we're going to make the top flip over. So make sure you mark which side is up so you cut the right side of the grass. All right, let's get started. So right along the edge, make sure not to go inside at all, because you can always trim more off, but you can't add more on. So make a good line here, and then we'll get ready to use it as a stencil. Okay, so we've got this really long piece of turf here that's flipped over on the back, and we've used this for some of those larger pieces. So it comes in the wide roll, I think it's 12 feet wide, and you can use the edge and use the middle depending on the size of your pieces, kind of map it out to get as few feet of the turf as you need. So we made our template here and cut it out, and gave ourselves about another 1/2 inch or 1 inch all the way around, because like I said, if you need to trim some, it's good, but you don't want to be too small because then you got to put in strip pieces and it's a lot more work. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a paint pen, and this is just a white paint pen, and we're going to go ahead and mark, make sure it's taped down or stuck down. You want to mark right along the edge. I got to pump this thing. There we go. And we're going to mark right along the edge of the entire area, and that'll get us ready to be able to cut it. So we'll go ahead and mark this whole thing, and we'll show you the cutting process. Important note, the top needs to be upside down. So the top is on where the grass is. So if you see, we put that top on what will be the top. Make sure you do that right, or else you'll have cut the wrong side like a mirror. And voila, we've got our template. So now you want to take a really, really sharp razor blade, preferably a brand new one. And you're just going to follow your line that you made and cut along it. Take your time, be careful, because if you make a bad cut, again, it's not very forgiving. So we'll do this along the entire surface. It's a really strong material, but with a sharp blade, you can cut it pretty well. And you're better off to be a little bit outside the line than inside. Cut. All cut. Let's take it around and see if it fits. Okay, so just kind of fold over that weed fabric that you had, and we're just going to nail it down with the spikes for the turf. So we'll set this on top, get everything tucked in, and check out the fit. All right, once it's set down, there likely will be a little bit of trimming along the edge unless you got that perfect stencil, but like I said, I like to make it a little bigger and trim it down. So we're gonna see this back corner here is a really good spot, and it's kind of gonna look a little shiny because we haven't stood up the fibers here yet, but when we stand them up, it looks very natural. So next step is gonna be take these landscape nails, which are from SYNLawn as well, and we're gonna take these, and you can use these pretty close together, but about every, 6 to 12 inches or so. We're gonna go along the edge, and you can kind of punch them in with your hand if you'd like. And we're going to start on one corner that's really a good corner, okay? So one corner that does not need trimming. And we're going to set these in. And then once we do that, that's going to enable us to start to stretch this turf and do any trimming that we need necessary. So we'll set this in on this corner. And then we will hammer these in and start to get the rest of it ready. When you first do this, there may be some small divots, but those divots will disappear over time, and we're going to add some fill that will do a great job at helping them to look natural. So let me go ahead and get all that done, start stretching it, and I'll show you how to trim. Okay, so we've got it all along the edges, and we've kind of put it in. And then when you figure out if you need to trim any excess off, if we do have here, you can use a little bit of some strong scissors and see if you can get that going. Or again, you can use a razor knife. Just be careful because this product, like I said, is not very forgiving. It doesn't really stretch very much. So you want to just make sure that you are very careful with your cuts. And then when you get it all in, we're going to stake it down, and we are almost done. Put a few more of these in. All right. Okay, so you can get one of these rakes here that they sell that helps it to stand up all those grass blades. You want to make sure if you're using multiple pieces that you face the grass blades the same way, because they kind of lay over when you first buy it, and then they'll stand up. But the real test to make it look natural and standing up in different directions is going to be this infill. So you go ahead and get some of this infill here, and what you're going to do is you're going to spread this across the surface. Now you could use a broadcast spreader or something else. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of manually spread this because I don't want to get it all in the pool. But basically, these are just little beads that are synthetic, and basically you're going to spread this along your entire surface here. I know this looks like a lot, but this will all disappear. And it's going to cover up any of the nails that are showing, and then it's going to eventually just get washed into the actual ground. So we're going to spread this across evenly, and it'll explain to you how much to use, and you can follow all their directions. I'm kind of eyeballing it. Then once you do that, you're going to take your turf rake, you're going to go against the grain of the grass. And if you want to come over here and get really close up, you'll see how it makes it disappear. All those pieces just go ahead and get worked into the bottom, and they help these blades of grass to stand up. And then we're going to water them in to make sure that they sink. So let me finish raking, and then we'll water them in. Okay, so we're going to water in that infill. I know it seems kind of weird, watering artificial turf, but I promise this is not going to be regular maintenance. But that just helps everything to kind of sink down, settle. And after we finish watering it in nice, we're going to give it one more rake and check out the finished product. Oh, that looks fantastic. Not that hard of a job. You just got to follow the simple steps one by one. We're going to let this dry, and you can always add a little more infill and rake it up some more if you'd like. Now, we had another piece of turf that we'll show you now, and this one has been around for over a year, and we've been checking out to make sure it didn't have any color fade, and it stood up well with pool chemicals, and it looks as good as the day we put it in, and that's why we decided it's the exact same kind of turf to go ahead and do the entire pool area. So that was a great test piece. Now this here, really proud, but we're gonna decorate this whole area, get it ready to go for the summer. It feels like it's already summer here, and this is really awesome. Again, we'll link all the products in the description so you can check them out, and you can definitely tackle this job. It's not that hard, it just takes a little bit of time and some careful planning. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, put any questions or comments in the comment box. Remember, all these projects, if I can do it, you can too. Thanks for watching.